Welcome back, everyone. Our next speaker for the second workshop of the day is Dr. Laith Abualigah. Dr. Laith is the Assistant Professor at the Computer Science Department, Amman Arab University, Jordan. He is also a distinguished researcher at the School of Computer Science, University Science Malaysia. He received his first degree in Computer Information System in 2011 and master's degree in Computer Science in 2014 from Al-Abaiti University, Jordan. He then received his PhD degree from the School of Computer Science in University Science Malaysia in 2018. According to the report published by Stanford University in 2020, Dr. Laith is one of the 2% influential scholars, which depicts the 100,000 top scientists in the world. He has published more than 80 journal papers and books, which collectively have been cited more than 3,100 times. His main research interests focus on arithmetic optimization algorithm, bio-inspired computing, nature-inspired computing, swarm intelligence, artificial intelligence, meta-heuristic modeling, and optimization algorithms, evolutionary computations, information retrieval, text clustering, feature selection, combinatorial problems optimization, advanced machine learning, big data, and natural language processing. Dr. Laith currently serves
Yes.
as an associate editor of the Journal of Cluster Computing and the Journal of Soft Computing in Springer, and also the Journal of King Saud University, Computer and Information Sciences for Elsevier. Now, let us invite Dr. Laith to begin the workshop on how to write a research paper for refereed journal. I'll pass the floor to you, Dr. Laith.
Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, I'm really happy to be with all of you today. As well, I would like to thank you all to attend this session. Today, I'm going to show how we can write a research paper in a referred journal. We can remember some important tips that can qualify our works to be published in a good journal. So it's not difficult. Normally, it needs some. We have to follow some instruction to be qualified to go for the high impact factor or for good journal. Let me go to the next slide. Okay. Let me start with how to structure or how you can make the organization of your paper. At the first point, we have to make the structure clearly and a standard format. So any paper should be tell a story like any other story. Begin at the problem, a clear problem. This is the core of the research. So what you are found, your results, what's the difference between results and the old results in the literature, and the most important things, how you advances the research field in your research method, in your proposed method, and in your obtained results. As well, it's very important to make an organization or clear organization in a standard format for your paper so that the editors and reviewers, readers, etc. can easily find and follow the information in that paper. So there's a standard format we can show here, which is called IMRaD format, which contains introduction, methods, results, and discussion. This is the main primary things. As well, we have some extra things that we have initialized throughout our works, like abstract, keywords, acknowledgement, conclusion, future work, and references. So if we look here, we have a standard format that contains the primary parts in each paper. These formats can help the researcher to present their idea clearly in a proper manner. Starting from a research paper title, the title normally should contains a precise information about the research, and we can return back to this part literally. As well, the abstract. Next, the abstract is also a small section. It will combine or close 250 to 300 words. It should also should contain some general information, background, aims, method, results, conclusion, and briefly. So this paragraph is very important because it's normally reflect the first impression for the reader, for the editor, for the reviewer about the paper. As well, the another part is introduction. Introduction also is another part. You can explain why you are conducting this research, why you are looking to solve a specific problem here, what is the available knowledge in the literature, and what you are looking for. Okay, this is in the introduction section, and it normally contains several parts in this section. So the other section is the method. So the method section talking about how you will make your or how you will execute or perform your experiments. The steps, we are talking about the steps. So the clearance of the steps and the clarity of the steps is very important. So if anyone come after you and can understand the steps that you are already conduct and apply it and get your results, it will be perfect. So we can judge about any research using its methodology. If its methodology is clear and everyone can understand it, so it will be really a good research paper. After that, the result section normally contain the tables, figures, and the obtained outcomes from the research. Normally can be arranged with some explanation, not analysis. The analysis we can move it to the another section, separate section called discussion section. Here can you explain your results, analyze your results based on the literature and how you advance the field. What's the difference between results and your results and the another published results, and etc. So another section is conclusion. Conclusion normally contain what is the important things that you got in your research, starting from small background, the problem, your method, your measurement, some adjustment in this research, etc. At the end, you have to show what is the outcomes from your proposed method, and sometimes we can also add some future work direction. So out of the end, we have to, in the main parts, we have to define the references to appreciate the credit of our other researcher in that field that we are return to the studies or research. So this list of resources can be arranged in a clear manner or in a specific manner. So this is the general structure to tell your story. So in each section, we show that there are some specific and important information that we have to show. Let's talk about order of the preparation of the manuscript. normally we recommend to start with the organization of the data, then start the writing process. So normally some researcher start with the writing, then added the results, which is a wrong way, to be honest. So we have to start with the figures and tables at the initial stage and take a decision how the data should be represented, how your outcomes can be convenient for the reader, for the editor, reviewer, etc., for who specialize in that domain. And you can use the graph table and how you can describe it in this section. So here we started from the result section. After we complete the result section, we can move to the next section, which is the methodology. Then, based on the results that we represent already in the previous section, we can show our proposed method based on that information. As well as I mentioned before, we have to show clearly our proposed method in terms of its procedure, okay, to allow anyone after us come and read this research can apply at least our methodology and get our results. After initialize the methodology section, we can move to the result section and finalize it. Then after the result section, normally some journals or some researcher make the results separate section, results and discussion. Maybe you can combine it in one section. Normally the discussion is analyze section that can be criticized the general results or the previous or the literature results and compare with our results, and we can show how we get something different from other. After finish these sections, we can return to the introduction section and present the introduction based on the literature and based on the gaps that we found, based on our proposed method to summarize or to finish this section, which is introduction system. So we can move to the abstract. After that, the abstract is, as I mentioned, is very important section. This abstract can give always a first impression about your work for the reader to cite your work, for the reviewer to be convenient with your work, for the editor to accept your work or reject it for the publication, and etc. So this is normally an overview. Okay, this is normally an overview for your paper. Present some important information that can be represent really the core of your ideas in this research, given a conscious background problem, how you solve it, okay, your point, your important information or settings for your experiments, like benchmark, measurement, results, comparisons, and etc. We can move now to the title. So the title as well important to present in a coherent and concise and informative manner to convince the reader and let the reader return to your research. This is based on this section, because this section is the first section that the reader look in. Okay, after that, the keywords, it should be also specific keywords and the important keywords that represent the research or the content of the research. The conclusion out of the end, as we talk about the conclusion, it's important. The conclusion either can come as a separate section or separate section with some headings. Okay, this is based on the journal format or as you prefer. Acknowledgement for the person that does not involve in the author list, as well the references, as we said that the references should be presented in a standard way, which is according to a specific format, according to the or based on the journal style. So, how to conceptualize an attractive research title or paper title. So, as I mentioned, the title is the first impression of your paper. So, any good research title is a brief description, not a long description, that really present the main idea, the topic, the results in just one or some words. Normally, it's from 1 to 15 words, and as the title smaller as will be better. Okay, so there's different way that can be used to present your title. We can present here three, okay, three kinds of ways that can we use to present our title, like declarative, or descriptive, or narrative. So declarative, which means state the main conclusion, state the main conclusion in the title. For example, here we see that, you can see that we give an example, a hybrid machine learning technique. When we say hybrid, okay, we mentioned here our, okay, our conclusion. We make a hybrid technique or hybrid method to improve something. Okay, when we say descriptive, describe the subject. So here, if we look at this example, the subject here is effect the hybrid effect. We talk about the effect on making a hybrid method for something. Okay, integrative also use a question for subject. Just we have a specific question for a subject, like did the modification or the hybrid method can improve something, and we can follow this kind or these types or ways to represent the title clearly. But to be honest, the most effective one is the declarative, which is can be used normally. So we recommended the following 5 tips to conceptualize an attractive research title to be descriptive. Low words count from 5 to 15. Okay, check the journal guidelines, which is the most important things. Always I support and I recommended every researcher to go to the guidelines of the journal and read the reader guidelines to make sure that he already follow the journal instruction. So this can save the time really and convenience the editor that you are familiar with everything in this journal. So this will give the auditor a good impression about your research, and maybe if the topic is conventional with the editor, he can move it to the next phase. Avoid any jargon or symbols in the title. So now let's talk about the abstract. Abstract is an important section, as I told. This part shows informative summary for your search work. Editor, reviewer, researcher, all can be judged if this research is really related or not related to their interests, and they can be used by the search on the database online, normally for the index. Sometimes we can see that some journals prefer to use structured abstract. Some other journals use unstructured abstract. Almost they are similar, but when we say about the structured abstract, there's some specific headings. Each head contains some information, like the first object. We can represent the objective of the study, then the methodology, which is the proposed method that we use in this research, results, conclusion. But if we talk about unstructured abstract, almost the same, but we can talk about how to how to paragraph our text in a structured manner that contain just text together without any headings. So, how to write a complete introduction for a research paper? The introduction is also important, and also I said important because every part in the research is very important, and we have to focus in, because when we focus in, the readers will make interest in the research, the reader, the reviewers, the editor, so our paper will get attention from others. So the introduction section in your paper should be in a context of the knowledge of the field. So when you have and get uh, good information, good knowledge from the literature in that field, you can represent your introduction in a better manner. First, you have to introduce the topic, including the main problem you are looking to solve, and some important information about the problem, maybe some gaps, some researches information that you used so far, as well. You can after that, because we're talking about some parts. The first part, as I mentioned, is a general introduction. Then you can talk about some information about the problem, how you are addressing the problem addressing right now, as well the literature about the problem in the introduction section. Then you can narrow the information about the problem, and you talk about your objectives and contribution in this section. So after that, you can give a background information about the problem, which is very important. Write a logical manner so the reader can follow your route process. So sometimes we can recognize that the introduction sections in any paper can make a good follow to present the information, like how to present general idea, how to attract the reader to go on and read the introduction by some simplified steps, starting from background, then show the problem and how they are acting in the literature with this problem, how we propose some method to uh, solve the problem, and how can we present our objective to find some goals for this research, and it's so write a logical manner so the reader can follow your process. As I mentioned, we have to focus on the problem. What is our proposal? Solve the problem or improve solution for the problem. What is the difference? And if we can differentiate our proposed method or our solution with the literature or existing work, it will be really good. So, how propose your solution to the problem with reasons. Okay, this is important as well to convenient the reader and the other person. So when we move to the literature section, so how we can conduct an effective literature review section. The process of conducting literature review is not easy, to be honest, but you have to start in a true way by giving a clear idea, or you can focus on a research question that can help you to find the more relevant research that you can be used in your literature section. So this is the most important thing, how we can focus and narrow the search to find our objective, or to find the most relative or related papers to our research. So the literature research, for example, search for articles related to your research question, keep notes, the search terms, keywords, and always try to unify or use just one general dataset to search to avoid any duplicated in the research or in the references or resources. Critically analyze the literature. Some researcher bought and state the literature without any comments, without an analysis. It's not really, it's not good way to represent your literature. If you have to add your literature, you have to analyze it, and you have to criticism or criticize the work to convene us with your proposed method at of the end. Okay, so you have to check every piece on the literature for the following to help you decide whether this is relevant to your research or not. So let's start with is the research question. Sometime at the beginning of the research, we have some question, or we can ask ourselves about some questions that is really very important, and normally the field use really clear questions to start the research. So always we can focus on this question to follow the process of our research. Then are the literature methods sufficient to test our objectives, or the current methods can can be really accomplished with some results that can be meet our objectives, and can you identify any flaws in the research and the literature, for example? Do the results make sense, and it can be reasonable and can be comparative with our results? Sometimes we look at some papers use different data, use different environment, different settings. Sometimes the result is not convenient, so we cannot return to this research. We have to find the most probable and similar research that can be really com comparative to our method, as in terms of the main data, main measurement, main things, main experiment setting, and etc. Other author respected in the field, which is very important things. When I'm working on the for example, in the artificial intelligence domain or machine learning domain, so always I have to return to the most respected researcher in that domain. So this will really support us to find really informative information. Uh, this information really can help us, because this researcher has this researcher yeah have their researcher have a good experience in that domain. So when we return to their work, we can get more knowledge and information. This is definitely okay. So as well, we can look at the citation for the papers that we are looking to cite or reference in our research. So when we found some research gain a really high number of reference or citation, this will be a good indication. So, introduction or discussion. There are a distinct difference between the literature, which is written in the introduction section, and the discussion section. In the introduction section, we are talking about how to describe the problem in terms of the literature, and what is the gap in our on the available knowledge in the literature, and how we can rationalize our work with the current work. So this is can be presented in the introduction section. But if we look at the discussion section, which is we are talking about the results, or the second result section, we are talking about how we compare our results with the literature, and how can we prove that our results, our outcome in general, is better than the literature in terms of many things. How we can judge if your research has some advances in the field. This is based on the literature. Okay, so this is the difference between the literature in the introduction and in the discussion section. So now how we can propose, or how we can present the proposed method in a clear way. So, as I mentioned, the most important things in this section how always we can always thinking how the other reader will come and read our proposed method, and how or they can apply it easily and get our results. So this is the measure that can be really used to judge if our proposed method is clear or not. So when writing a method or proposed method of a research paper, you need to give a current details, okay, for the readers, okay, about the procedure, about the everything used, and can help the reader in doing experiments in that domain, structure, procedure, steps, follow charts, algorithms, etc. So also I encourage and support every researcher to present the mathematical notation for the problem as well for the proposed method, which can be really easy for some expert researcher to understand what you are conducting. Okay, so some tips to write say effective research methodology, like write the past tense because you are already reporting something is conducted. Avoid unnecessary details that disturb the follow. So just let's really use just the most important information, and we don't have to use unnecessary details in the research papers. Okay, so some method, equipments, tools should be mentioned also through the procedure. Details like ethics, consents, requirements if the study contain humans or animals, but normally in the computer science is not. So evaluation criteria and comparative methods ensure that you have present the experiment settings as well. If you did some statistical method or analyze method, also you have to define the end of this section. So uh, let me talk in general. The information you have to present in your work is not standard. Okay, so every researcher can do something unique. Okay, some journals request a specific format. So uh, we are talking right now about a general and standard format, which means it's not really we can always use it as it is. Okay, sometimes you can make some uh, parts flexible and we can change in some parts. Okay, here is a checklist of things that we have to use in our proposed method, like references of a previous published method. Okay, it's not really it's not really preferred to be used, okay, because you are talking about your method. Okay, study setting if the research involve any population, any samples, any benchmark data, sessions like codes. You have or you make your codes available online, or if you already get a code in your experiment from any online websites, software, how do you obtain your software, what is the software that used in your experiments. This can help the future reader to conduct a fair comparison with your work. So the statistic, if you conduct something like samples, or subject randomization method, details of investigation, and etc. Other than time frame, if it is relevant in your research. So some journals really find the results with discussion section, whereas other separate headings for each section. So this is, as I mentioned, every journal has some style. Also, the authors as well have their styles. So some researcher present the information in their way. Some researcher use different way. So it's not a matter, to be honest, but you have to at least you have to accomplish, or you can found that the primary parts of the research. If the two sections are combined together, so you have to state the results or your outcome and discuss them immediately afterwards before presenting the next section, which is normally after the results, the conclusion section. So the challenge is to present your idea in a way that is logical and accurate. Okay, so always we have to thinking. Always we have to thinking that how to make our work logical, how to make our presentation accurate for the next or for the future readers. So this will really make our research is attractive. Set out your results in same order as you get out your method. Okay, some adjustment for the experiments. When writing the results section of your research paper, remember to include control group of data or benchmark details, the main important things that you used already in your research to conduct the results, you have to add it in the result section, like uh, sometime evaluation measure, comparative method settings, okay, your method settings, how you conduct the experiment, the software, the every details which are important to be mentioned, benchmark details, statistical analysis details, and etc. So try to visualize and isolate your results in figures and tables, which will be really easier for reader to understand your results. Things that do not belong to the section results, like speculation and um, commentary about the results. And we are all trying to make some comments or some analysis or some positive and convenient description about our results, okay, to convenient the reader and who are interested in this research. References as well. You are reporting your own data. It's not good always to add reference in the proposed method and in the or in your results. So this is your results. So you don't have to use any reference exactly or especially in your results. So don't repeat the data in the text as well if you represented already in a table on the figures. So keep the discussion separate, as I saw that the most influential journals like to see separate section, result section and discussion section. Keep explanation, interpretation, limitation, comparisons on the literature for discussion. So this part can focus in these primary things separated from the results section. The results section just we can show the results and what we already write. So if we talk here how we can write the discussion section of our research paper, as I mentioned, the discussion section very critical to show the readers what is the most important things and how we can compare our results with another results or with the literature results. So the discussion section of your research paper answer several questions like, did you achieve your objectives at the beginning of your research? Definitely you specialize some objective and you try to find a solution and to try to reach these objectives or aims in the research. So in this section you have to answer if you already uh, achieve your objectives or not and how you did it. Okay, so how also do your results compare with other study? So this is very important to show the reader how you compare results with the literature results. Some settings should be same to be found in the comparison at the end. Also, if there are any limitation of your research, should be mentioned there, maybe. Okay, sorry. And the limitation is very important sometimes to mention. It's focused on to show to the reader some constraint. If you face some constraint, or you apply your method, for example, in a specific data set, so it will be considered as a limitation. So if you present your limitation in your work, you will help the future researcher to find some limitation and to learn more from your research. Okay, how you advance the research field. This is the most important thing that differentiate your work from the another or the literature work. Then start discussion your data, especially or specifically, and then broaden out how further you feel will be or of interest. Questions to get you started with discussion summary. Okay, how did your results answer objectives? This is very important. If you meet the results really accomplish the objectives, and why do you think your results are different from the published data? If you can show these reasons, you will make your paper really an attractive paper. Okay, because some experts and some smart researcher focus in these critical points, because these critical points is very important for the researcher to start a new research, or to at least use your research in their future research. So do you think further research would help clarify an issue with your data? As I mentioned, so this point, the third point, can open some potential direction for future research. This is very important as well. The aim is to tell the reader what is your results meant. Okay, the structure of the discussion section of your research paper is in a logical manner. This is very important. Okay, starting with the introduction by graph in this section, because every section we have to give some introduction, background, the core things that we have to talk about. Then after we present some introduction paragraph in this section that talk about what you set out in the context and the main aims of this study. As well, some author prefer starting, okay, with major findings, like this paper proposed, or this paper get, or this paper obtained, or this paper find, something like, first to keep the reader interest. Okay, so the way you present the idea is very important as well. If you look at the literature, you can say some researchers also try in this paper, some researchers try to say this paper use, some researcher try also to give a background as well, not start directly with forward information. Okay, the next paragraph should discuss what you found, okay, what you already got, the outcomes of this research, how it compares with other study. This is very important things. And concluding paragraph at the end, which should talk about the major outcomes of this study. Be careful not to write your, okay, conclusion here. Okay, then how to write the conclusion of the research. So the conclusion is a summary part, which should be a clear part and attractive part to show what we did, exactly in terms of some words to present the ideas that we already stated in our research. So while writing the conclusion section of your research paper, you have to give some summary, okay, and emphasize your findings. Like here, some terms can help us or support us in writing the conclusion section. Like state what you set out to achieve, what you are looking, what you did, okay. So tell the reader what your major findings were, okay, what you did exactly, okay, to find or to get the outcomes that you already built, okay. How has your study contributed to the field, okay? If you can really show and prove this point, how the study contributed to the field, it will be really good. Mentioned any limitations, any restriction in your research, okay, and with recommendation for future research is very important in my opinion. Some researcher or some uh, new researcher always trying to go to this section and see how the researcher present their future research or potential direction for future research. So from this point can start a new research. So always I recommend every researcher to make it really in an important way to encourage the next or the future researcher to start from this point. Effectively citing and referencing your resource. Always we return to all the existing work and we use some codes or some environments. So we have to acknowledge the works and we have to get or give some credit to the other researcher. There are two reasons for that. First, cite someone's idea to avoid plagiarism. Okay, plagiarism is when you use someone's ideas without any change. So I'll acknowledge these ideas. This will cause you a problem, to be honest. So second, reader will be able to source the literature you cited and refer easily and return to this research. Okay, when we cited the literature probably in our research. So we have to focus in this matter. Okay, always we have to cited our literature in a probably manner in our research. This will enable the future researcher get back to our references easily. Okay, as well effective referencing and citation. Keep detailed list of your reference, including the journal style maybe, okay. Insert citation either in the text you write according to the style of the journal and publication. Sometimes I'm really encourage anyone to use tools for the citation part. It will be easier to conduct the research. Some researcher use it manually. It's not good, to be honest, to deal with moving or deleting or adding a new reference for the research paper. So mentally note if work, maybe LaTeX as well can be used to probably cite and conduct a organized research. If we talk about the figures, the figures should be present in a high quality, okay, colors, and the link end should be self-explanatory, and which means it should be clearly presented for the reader, okay, and the reader should understand the figure easily without going to search and trying to understand the content of the figure. Use easily distinguished symbols in the figure as well. Place long tables of data to the supplementary material. Let's talk about the tables. As I mentioned, the long tables should be definitely goes to the supplementary material section. Okay. As I mentioned, we have to check always the guidelines, the formatting of the journal. Tables don't have to use vertical lines in the publication. Okay, legend must be self-explanatory, which means the presentation should be easier for the reader. Assign the authorship. Always we have to add just the qualified author that they did something really major in our research, make substantial contribution to all stage of the research. Okay, who draft or revise the manuscript or the paper, approve the final version of the manuscript. Okay, be accountable for the accuracy and integrity of the research. These the characteristics of the authorship persons. So who did these points can be one of the authors. Otherwise, you have to add it in the another section, which is the acknowledgement section. Okay, ethical and professional authorship. You have emerged over the years. So some types of the authors like the guest authorship and the guest authorship and guest authorship as well. Some author who did really funding and supervision. Some authors just pay and control the publication. Some of them well known and respected as well, which is the guest authorship. How to write an acknowledgement section, as I mentioned. Acknowledgement section sometimes to qualify the author, but will not contribute enough the research to acknowledge some fundings. Okay, these include funders, supervisors, administrative supporting, editing, proofreading, assistance, etc. The contribution made by this individual as well should be stated in this section to acknowledge their part points to note from the author instruction before preparing the manuscript. We have to check the guidelines or the instruction for the author to choose the publication before the submission. You have to see the style out of the beginning, the style of the journal, and ensure that all the manuscript consists with regards to the language and format and the style. This guideline really will help you, and like as well you can specify which language this journal refers in English UK or US English, how the abbreviation can be presented, the tables, the figures, okay, the columns, okay, one column, two column, etc. And they are also especially important to reference section in the journal style. Regarding the language, always the editor and the reviewer expect to see a clear and really corrected language. So if we have some problem in the writing skills, so we have to ensure that our manuscript is structured correctly, clearly written, and contain the correct technical language. So if we need any support, it's not a problem. Really, we have to ask for support from another external path. Maybe friend, maybe colleges, maybe company for some editing language and etc. So once you are happy with the manuscript and convenient with your manuscript, you have to read all the small errors. Okay, this could be spelling, consistency, spacing, and etc. This will really improve the presentation and the readability of your work for the future readers. As well, the editor and reviewer will be more convenient with your proposal as well. Seek all the assistance, as I mentioned, from the colleges, professional editing companies, edits, and improve your manuscripts too. Pre-submission, pre-review of your manuscript. Sometimes you have to ask someone expert to pre-review your work. Usually you can or the other can see what you cannot see. Okay, so a pre-submission peer review, or you asking for some comments from another persons. This will get some benefits, like first you can really look and find the gaps or errors in your work, and receiving some good feedback. Maybe you can compare with this feedback and get some improvement in your work. Okay, improve the clarity of your work paper, because sometimes some other experts have some aspects that can be really improve the work in general, and you can ask some experienced colleges, supervisor, and professional editing as well review your art. So, here I finished the presentation, and now we can open for the question and discussion.
Thank you very much, Dr. Laith.
Thank you.
Now we are moving to the Q&A session. Is there any question from our participants? You may unmute, or you can put your question into the chat box. Let me look at the attendee list. There seems to be hand raised. Okay, Dr. Laith, we have a question from Dr. Akmal.
Okay.
Okay, the question goes like this. Regarding the pre-reviewed paper submission, how is the quality of the review given? Is it costly to do?
Okay. Let me answer this question as sometimes if we ask expert in the domain, or expert in general, any expert person, this really will help us to get an important feedback that can improve our work. Okay, I think I answered the question.
Dr. Akmal, are you okay with the... Okay, yep,
Okay,
all right.
thank you very much.
Any more question from the floor? Or you may raise your hand and I can call out your name.
Yes, I think.
Okay.
Thank you.
Looks like okay, we have another question.
Okay.
It's from Fatima. So about the paper title, which the words we need to avoid or choose in the paper title. Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with avoiding words. I think we have to avoid the general word. Okay, and we have to focus on the main words that represent our work, like we did, like in the machine learning, a hybrid technique. So we have to represent these words that represent our contribution. Okay, not a general word like a machine learning technique for prediction model. This is not a good title. Okay, so if we can say an efficient, or modified, or improved, this word really general, but it can present or can show that you already did something in that technique to solve a problem, or to improve something, or to did something. Okay, so always really we have to avoid any general title. So the general title will not attract the future researcher. Okay, and to be honest, if you are interested in getting some citation, you have to write it in an attractive manner. Yeah, uh, if you saw, we present the order of the title out of the end of the research. So always we did the title in the beginning of the research. No, we add the title out of the end. So why? To present an efficient title that can represent our work really and attract the research in the future.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Laith. Fatima, does that answer the question?
Thank you, Fatima.
Okay. All right. Any more question? Okay. We
Yes.
have another question from Dr. Intan. So, what about if we work with other researchers from different domain, for example, medical domain? Do you think having a general title is more suitable?
Sometime if some researcher from different domains work, I think as well they have to make it a little specialized, because I give just my opinion. The reader always trying to focus on some critical points, or focus on some points they are interested in. So we make it a general. Okay, sometimes can get some attention. Okay, as well if we do it in a particular or a specific way. So I think the readers will be higher. This is the difference. Okay, so sometimes the readers focus on something specialized to get more information, and they will cite it the research more. According to my experience, when I present the title in a specific way, so I get more citation. If I make it a general, I will never get citation for the paper.
I see, that's the trick. Okay. All
Yeah.
right, thank you very much. We have a next question from Dr. Gan. So, Dr. Life, can you make some suggestions for postgraduate to plan the thesis chapter for publication?
Okay. Uh, so as we started the discussion, we show that the first section is the result section. So the plan for the students and for the postgraduate students to plan their thesis or chapter series for publication is the comparisons and the results, in general the experiments. So when I was a student in the PhD journey at University of South Malaysia, I did a good number of research publication, to be honest, all in a good journal, the high impact factor, because I did a comprehensive experiments. Okay, I did a comprehensive experiments. So I divided the experiments for each stage and published in a separate paper. So in my opinion, the number of the publications depend on your experiments. If you did comprehensive experiments, you can publish more papers and you can divide it every contribution for one paper. But if you did some experiments just to qualify and just to make it for the thesis, it will really just present one paper and a good journal. Okay.
Okay, I think these suggestions help. All right, the next question from Dr. Akmal. How do you come to an agreement for article with multiple authors, with multiple domains, multiple levels of contributions?
Wallahi, we work as a group and we always have some agreements in that domain. We always, for my group, we have different persons from different domains, from different levels of contributions. So always we just trying to present idea, present a new work. We always didn't focus on some critical things to disrupt or the things that work. So the agreements normally starting before the submission. So from my side, you have to show the final draft for all the authors. At the end, they already participate in the research before the submit.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Laith.
Thank you.
All right. So I think there's something Dr. Amman wants to share. Is it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Can you? Everyone can hear me?
Yeah.
About Dr. Gan question about what is the question just now about the how many papers that you can publish from your thesis, isn't it? Okay. There's something that I learned from Elsevier because they asked me to they invite me to join their advanced academic writing about journal publishing. Okay. Okay, actually from the thesis, if we can make a good research question, for example, one thesis we have 4 research question. Okay, 4 research question. So every research question can be published as one paper. This is my experience and also according to the Elsevier publisher. Okay, meaning if you have, for example, I don't know what is example. I think you know what is the research question, isn't it? So if we have developed our thesis, then we have 4 research question, and the research maybe 8 research question, and the 8 research question is being mapped to 4 objective, for example, 4 or 3 objective. So every research question we can publish a paper from that. Yeah, we can publish a paper from the first research question, second research question, the third research question, and fourth.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Prof. Aman. I agreed with you definitely, because if we talk at the normal situation, maybe every objective can be present in a good research paper. I think also we can say it's depend on the researcher itself. Some researcher can present it's not easy, but some researcher can really present their results in a way. For example, let me say one objective can really publish into and 3-4 papers. Some researcher, it's based on their efforts. Okay, for example, you can take me for as an example in my PhD journey. From my thesis, I did I published more than 20 research paper in a high quality journal, and more than 10 conferences papers, and more than 8 chapters. This just from my thesis. Okay, but out of the end, I really, for every paper I prepare something new. I prepare some parts new. I try to change. Yeah, but the results were very comprehensive in my thesis. So this encouraged me and support me to publish more papers. Okay, so normally any students have to really spend more effort in conducting the first section, which is the result section, which is very important section, as I think. So this will help you really to conduct many research. So at the end, these research papers really can support you and support your work. And for let me also talk about these researches after the PhD. After the PhD, when you are going to the market, to the universities, this will support you if you research were published in a good journal. Okay, so this is a really credit. I found it for me when I finished my PhD. I found it as a credit. Okay, so as you know, I also continued because I really found it very beneficial. Yeah, found it this very beneficial for me to be a researcher, for me to be an academic lecturer as well. So I encourage any students to focus on that matter. So this matter very important for you whenever you are students or whenever you are going to the work for the university as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Laith, Dr. Laith, for such inspiring and encouraging sharing about on the question just now. All right. So, do we have any more questions from the floor?
Can we ask question directly?
Sure, sure. Please go ahead. You may want to introduce yourself first.
Yeah, I'm Bello Rotimi Williams.
All right. Go ahead with your
Graduate
question.
student in the School of Computer Science, USMA. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, presenter. You have given a good speech and you have given a good answer to our questions. But I would like to ask the reason why some supervisors, some lecturers are no longer interested in Scopus Index Journal, no matter how quality the journal might be. They have shifted attention away from publications that are indexed in Scopus, and they are now pushing students to publishing in impact factor journals. What do you say to this? Does that mean that Scopus is no longer capable of giving a very good article to feature in their journals? In short, why are supervisors and lecturers now shifting attention away from Scopus Index Journal, no matter how quality such a journal might be? Why so much attention on ISI impact factor journals? Is it that Scopus is no longer relevant? I would like a very beautiful answer to this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. I think I get your point, but let me answer as my experience. Scopus is not a bad index for the journals, but always we are trying to target the most influence journals. So these journals comes and index in that Scopus, and the ISI, which has become Clarivate Analytics or Web of Science indexer. So these just indexers, and this each indexer has some criteria to index the journals. So the criteria of the Scopus is lower than the Clarivate Analytics criteria. So if just you want to qualify the minimum requirements, so you can go to Scopus. Scopus is good journals, and it's approved by the university, and I think from the supervisors. And if you want really to publish in a high quality place, you have to target some journals in the Clarivate Analytics Indexer as well. You can also focus on the high impact factor, because the impact factor really reflects, based on specific matters, the importance of the papers that published in this journal. Okay, so this is my opinion.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Dr.
much.
Lai.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bello, for your question. Dr. Laith, there's a participant asking if we can get a copy of your slide.
Yes, yes, I can share it with you, no problem.
Okay. All right. So probably our organizing committee will contact you to get a copy of your
Yes,
slide later.
yes,
All right.
yes, for sure, for sure.
Any more question from the floor? Calling once, calling twice. All right. So once again, Dr. Laith, thank you very much for such a great information, tips and tricks in writing research paper. I believe this is very eye-opening to most of us on the line. So also once again, thank you everyone for your active participation in this session. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
So
you very much.
okay. So we are now going to have our lunch break. So I would like to inform you that our lunch break is from now until 2 p.m. And it will be a great pleasure to have you back online to this same workshop link on time later. See you again and please enjoy your lunch. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like also to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to be with you. As well, I really encourage everyone to have some cooperation with others. This will facilitate the research process and getting more number of publication in good places. I wish all of you the best, the students, my professors, which I appreciate. They are fast with me and with others. I would like out of them, thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your kind words, Dr. Laith. All right,
Thank
we
you.
are now proceeding to the lunch break. Enjoy your lunch.